Imagine waking up inside a distinct, terrifying illusion. You look to your left and see a friend signing a lease on a luxury apartment downtown that costs 60% of their take-home pay. To your right and see another friend financing a brand new sports car because they convinced themselves they deserve a treat for landing an entry-level job. Feels like everyone has cracked the code to an opulent lifestyle except you. But here is the brutal, unspoken truth that nobody puts on their Instagram story. They are not building a life, they are digging a hole, are wearing golden handcuffs before they even have a career. Most of us spend our 20s sleepwalking into financial disasters that we will spend our 30s and 40s trying to claw our way out of. It is a masquerade ball of consumerism where the price of admission is your future freedom. But if you are watching this, you probably have a nagging suspicion that the traditional path of spend now, worry later is a trap, and you are absolutely right. The decade between age 20 and age 30 is not just a throwaway period for partying and making mistakes. It is the financial foundation for the rest of your existence. It is the only time in your life when time is heavily on your side, yet it is the time most people waste the most aggressively. Welcome back to the channel. I am Bakey, and here at Bakey Invests, we are obsessed with peeling back the curtain on how wealth is actually built, not how it is pretended. I have spent years deconstructing the habits of the truly wealthy versus the high-income poor, and the difference almost always boils down to a few critical decisions made in early adulthood. Today, we are going to walk through 7 specific purchases that act as leverage points for your life. These are not expenses, they are seeds. You plant them now, you walk into your 30s with a forest of options. If you ignore them, you walk into your 30s with a mountain of debt. If you are ready to stop playing pretend and start building real equity in your life, make sure you represent the community by hitting that subscribe button. Let's rewire your financial brain. We need to start with a purchase that feels counterintuitive because it involves spending money to make money, but not in the way you might think. I am talking about buying the tools to build your own equity. Call it a side hustle, a micro business, or a freelance gig, but the terminology matters less than the action. There is a toxic myth floating around that starting a business costs $0. While you can certainly start with nothing, the people who actually scale usually make a strategic upfront investment. I see so many people in their 20s terrified to drop $300 on a professional certification or $500 on a high-quality camera lens, yet they will drop that same amount on a weekend trip to Vegas without blinking. One creates a hangover, the other creates an income stream. When you are 22 or 25, your biggest asset, your energy, and your lack of serious liabilities. You likely do not have 5 dependents and a massive mortgage. Yet, this is your safe window to take a calculated risk. Buying a domain name, paying for a premium website builder, purchasing a set of power tools, or buying the inventory for an e-commerce test run. These are small bets with asymmetric upside. Think about it this way. If you spend $500 trying to launch a service business and it fails, you are out $500. That stings, but it is not fatal. You can recover from that in a few weeks of work. But if it succeeds, that $500 purchase could turn into a $5,000 monthly income stream that frees you from the 9-to-5 grind forever. That is what we call asymmetric risk. The downside is capped, but the upside is infinite. Stop trying to build something out of thin air. Put some skin in the game. When you financially commit to your own idea, even if is a small amount, your psychology shifts. You treat it like a professional because you paid to be there. Now let's pivot to the second purchase, which is technically a vehicle, but not the kind with wheels. I am talking about purchasing your freedom through a Roth IRA or a similar tax-advantaged investment account. This is where we have to talk about the eighth wonder of the world. Heard it 1,000 times, but hearing it and feeling it are two different things. Let's paint a picture with words because the math is honestly shocking. Imagine two people. Person A starts buying shares of a standard index fund, which is just a basket of the top companies in the economy at age 20. They put in roughly $200 a month. That is it. Just $200. By the time they retire, assuming historical market returns, they are sitting on over $1 million. Now look at person B. They wait. They think they need to live a little first. They start vesting that same $200 a month at age 30. Same amount of money leaving their pocket every month, just starting 10 years later. By retirement, they have significantly less, hundreds of thousands of dollars less. That 10-year delay did not just cost them time, it cost them a fortune. The purchase here is the index fund. It is the most boring purchase you will ever make. It is not sexy. You cannot drive it. You cannot wear it to the club. It does not sparkle. But it is the engine of wealth. By setting up an automatic transfer to a Roth IRA, you are essentially buying a tax-free future. You are paying your future self first. The reason this is crucial, your 20s, is that every single dollar you invest now is like an employee that works for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next 40 years. The dollar you invest at 20 is worth exponentially more than the dollar you invest at 40. Wait until you have more money. You build wealth by forming the habit when you have little, so the system is already built when you have a lot. Moving on to the third purchase, and this one might surprise you because usually financial channels tell you to stay home and save every penny. Going to tell you to buy a plane ticket. But there is a caveat. Do not buy a vacation, buy a perspective shift. There is a massive difference between going to an all-inclusive resort where you never leave the pool and traveling to a place where you do not speak language, do not know the customs, and have to figure it out. In your 20s, your worldview is still malleable. When you travel, strategically staying in hostels, backpacking, meeting people from different economic backgrounds, you are purchasing adaptability. You are learning how to solve problems in real time. You are realizing that the way things are done in your hometown is not the only way things are done. This builds a level of grit and social intelligence that is impossible to learn in a classroom. Furthermore, are smart about this, you are not just spending money. You are building a credit profile. This is the perfect time to get a travel rewards credit card. Put your normal necessary expenses on it: groceries, gas, internet, and pay it off in full every single month. You accumulate points that pay for the flights, effectively making travel nearly free while simultaneously proving to the banks that you are a trustworthy borrower. This sets you up for the major loans you might want later, like a mortgage. It is about working the system. You get the life experience, the network, and the credit score, all for the price of expenses you were going to pay anyway. This leads perfectly into purchase number 4, which is the ultimate software upgrade for your brain. I do not necessarily mean a master's degree that leaves you with 6 figures of debt. I am talking about self-education, books, seminars, legitimate workshops, and coaching. We live in an era where you can download the life's work of a billionaire into your brain for the price of a takeout lunch. A $20 book can contain the insights that someone spent 50 years acquiring. When you buy a book on negotiation, on psychology, on sales, or on coding, you are buying a shortcut. You are skipping the line. The return on investment for a good book or a solid course is nearly infinite because nobody can tax your skills. Nobody can foreclose on your knowledge. If you spend $500 on a course that teaches you how to negotiate your salary, and you use that skill to get a $5,000 raise at your next job, that is a 1,000% return in year 1. That raise compounds every year after that. In your 20s, you are a sponge. Your neuroplasticity is high. Prioritize spending money on things that make you more valuable to the marketplace. Avoid the get-rich-quick schemes and the gurus posing with rented Lamborghinis. Look for specific hard skills, copywriting, data analysis, public speaking. These are the tools that will allow you to generate income at will, regardless of what the economy is doing. Now let's talk about the big one. Purchase number 5. This is the one that scares people, but the cornerstone of generational wealth, saying, Becky, look at the housing market. I can barely afford rent, let alone a house. I hear you, but the goal in your 20s shouldn't necessarily be to buy your dream home with the white picket fence. The goal is to control an asset. You need to look at strategies like house hacking. This is where you buy a multi-unit property, live in one unit and rent out the others. Or you buy a house with multiple bedrooms and rent the extra rooms to your friends. Why is this so powerful? Because it eliminates your biggest expense, are covering your mortgage. You are living for free, plus you are getting the tax benefits, the loan pay down, and the appreciation of the asset. A form of leverage. You put a small amount down, maybe 3.5% if you are using a first-time homebuyer program, and you control an asset worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It requires sacrifice. You might have to live with people when you would rather live alone. You might have to fix a leaky toilet at midnight, but the financial velocity this creates is unmatched. While your friends are paying rent that disappears into landlord's pocket forever, you are building equity every single month. It is a temporary discomfort for a permanent advantage. Purchase number 6 is actually about what you don't buy, or rather what you buy instead. It is about buying cheap, reliable transportation. This is the single biggest wealth destroyer for young people. I see it constantly here at Becky Invests. A young professional gets their first decent paycheck and immediately they go to the dealership and sign away their future for a shiny German car. Please understand this. These are the tools that will allow you to generate income at will, regardless of what the economy is doing. Now let's talk about the big one. Purchase number 5. This is the one that scares people, but it is the cornerstone of generational wealth, saying, at the housing market, I can barely afford rent, let alone a house. I hear you, but the goal in your 20s shouldn't necessarily be to buy your dream home with the white picket fence. The goal is to control an asset. You need to look at strategies like house hacking. This is where you buy a multi-unit property, live in one unit and rent out the others. Or you buy a house with multiple bedrooms and rent the extra rooms to your friends. Why is this so powerful? Because it eliminates your biggest expense, are covering your mortgage. You are living for free, plus you are getting the tax benefits, the loan pay down, and the appreciation of the asset. It is a form of leverage. You put a small amount down, maybe 3.5% if you are using a first-time home buyer program, and you control an asset worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It requires sacrifice. You might have to live with people when you would rather live alone. You might have to fix a leaky toilet at midnight, but the financial velocity this creates is unmatched. While your friends are paying rent that disappears into a landlord's pocket forever, you are building equity every single month. It is a temporary discomfort for a permanent advantage. Purchase number 6 is actually about what you don't buy, or rather what you buy instead. It is about buying cheap, reliable transportation. This is the single biggest wealth destroyer for young people. I see it constantly here at Becky Invests. A young professional gets their first decent paycheck and immediately they go to the dealership and sign away their future for a shiny German car. Please understand this. Drive a new car off the lot, you have set fire to thousands of dollars of value. And if you finance it, you are paying interest on an asset that is dropping in value like a stone. It is a double negative. If you are paying $500 or $600 a month for a car note plus full coverage insurance, that is money that isn't going into your index fund. That is money that isn't funding your side hustle. The smart move in your 20s is to swallow your pride and buy a point A to point B machine. Buy a used Toyota or Honda that is 5 years old. It has already taken the massive depreciation hit. It is reliable. It is cheap to fix. Gets you to work just as fast as the luxury sedan. When you drive a cheap car, you are signaling to yourself that you care more about actually being rich than looking rich. The hundreds of thousands of dollars you save over a lifetime. Avoiding new car payments is enough to retire years early. Not let your ego drive your financial decisions. Finally, we have to talk about purchase number 7. The original list I was looking at stopped at 6, but I cannot in good conscience let you leave without this one, because without it the other 6 do not matter. Purchase number 7 is your health and wellness. I am treating this as a purchase because it costs money to eat real nutritious food. It costs money to join a gym or buy weights. It costs money to go to the dentist and the doctor for checkups. In your 20s, you feel invincible. You think you can run on energy, drinks, fast food, and 4 hours of sleep forever. You can't. If you burn out your body now, you will spend all the wealth you build in your 30s and 40s paying medical bills in your 50s. Invest in high-quality fuel for your body. View your gym membership not as a vanity expense, but as a maintenance cost for your most important machine. When you are physically healthy, your brain works better. You have more energy for that side hustle. You have more clarity for those investment decisions. Is the foundation that holds up the entire skyscraper of your life. Do not be cheap when it comes to your physical and mental well-being. It is the one asset you cannot replace. So there you have it. These are not just purchases, they are strategic pivots. Every time you tap your card or transfer funds, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. You can vote for the broke, stressed-out consumer who looks good on the outside but is drowning on the inside. Or you can vote for the free, wealthy, independent individual who played the long game and won. The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking. Your 20s are fleeting. Use them to build the launch pad, not the cage. If you found value in this breakdown and want to keep leveling up your financial IQ, make sure you are subscribed to Bakey Invests. We are building a community of future millionaires here, and I want you to be part of it. Smash that like button to help the algorithm find other people who need to hear this message. Until next time, stop spending, start investing, and I will see you in the next video.